committed to this program, Rock Against Racism. Are you here because you've gone through your own struggle with that, or to play good music? Or both?
Well, mostly to play good music. I think that what they're doing is they're responding to something very serious because it certainly has been something that has hurt many people over the years, you know, from all different walks of life. People of all color are hurt by racism.
You think so?
Yes.
Or more the black musician, George?
Well, the black musician, mainly probably because of how things shaped up from the very beginning, how we came to this country, and all those things play a part. And they've been promoted by some. But we see a loosening of that in modern times, especially in the music. The music has always been a forerunner in those kind of things.
You mean it's different for you than it was for U.B. Blake or Billie Holiday?
Much different.
Those sad stories we heard, they don't exist now, huh?
No. And I think the man most responsible for that was John Hammond from CBS Records.
Now, I don't know John Hammond.
John Hammond was the man who put Lionel Hampton and Teddy Wilson with Benny Goodman years ago, and they were the first band.
Made a difference.
Famous band that had an interracial group, and that broke the ice. Although for a while it hampered Benny's working ability, but he was so famous he had plenty of other places to play. But there were some areas that would not hire him because of that. Years later, when people got used to that idea, it flowered, it bloomed.
I've always felt that music transcended prejudice, that it's kind of a universal language. Is it almost a reverse now? Is it now a plus to be black?
You know, it's a plus to be any color. To be alive is a great blessing. And although people will find some way to dislike you in this world, it's something that's inborn in all of us. They have to find something different so that they can feel good about themselves. Some people need that. I certainly never needed it, you know?
You mean when you were singing on the streets of Pittsburgh and you were little Georgie Benson, you didn't feel any of that prejudice, and you didn't feel a sense of, gee, I have to work harder for this because the world wasn't right, now maybe they're getting right?
You know, when I was little, I didn't feel any of that. We lived in a multiracial community, and my grandfather was a very popular man in the neighborhood. He was like what you might call a godfather in his neighborhood.
Yeah?
Yeah, he used to protect the neighborhood stores and things from hoodlums who used to come in and try to shake down the store owners. And so when I was coming up, those store owners and their children, they loved our family.
So it was
they
a
weren't the
big
same color as
neighborhood
we
of
were.
caring then,
They were
was it?
Yiddish people, and then we had some Sicilian people, we had Italian people, and actually we had some Irish people in our neighborhood too. So I grew up that way. I went to a vocational school that was multiracial. As a matter of fact, I was a minority in the school. Although it was in the middle of the black community, basically black community, the school had 30 or 40 black students and 1,400 white students.
So then did you grow up like I did? My mother never taught me prejudice. Color never mattered.
It's that kind of thing. That's
Is
what
it?
I'm talking about. I think that's the reason why my music today is kind of universal.
What's the best part of music for you, other than the obvious, the accolades that you take home at night? What's the best part for you alone, inside?
That I've somehow made a dent, an impression, passed on something good. Because I think most people want to feel significant, that they've lived for a reason. They're trying to find a purpose in life. Well, through music, I have been given enough feedback to know that what I'm doing is effective. And when I hear some young player play something that I helped to create or made popular, then I know I'm making that dent and I know I'm being accepted.
Are you kind of like Charlie Byrd was to you?
Yes.
To that young player?
Yes. I feel that I'm passing on the things I learned from the other players.
If it hadn't been for your stepfather, you wouldn't be here, or would you?
I think that I probably would never have dared to pick up the guitar. I used to revere the instrument so much. When I heard someone play it, I thought it was just fantastic that someone could pick up an instrument that had 6 strings, tuned differently, and make harmony with it, you know, make something organized happen. And my stepfather asked me one time, he said, now if you want to play it, I'll teach you, but if you don't, then don't touch my instrument.
It's either all or nothing.
So in order to touch it, I had to agree to learn to play it, to sit down for studies, and he taught me the very beginning.
Didn't he make the guitar? Someone told me that story now. Is that not true?
He made my first electric guitar because I kept crying about an instrument I saw in a pawn shop window. And it happened to be one of the first flat-bodied guitars, which is made out of solid wood. And he got tired of hearing me cry about it, so he said, let's go out and take a look at it. It was way out of our reach and in price. And when he saw it, he studied it for a minute, and he put his hand on his tool. He said, you know, I can make that. And we went home, and he did.
Where did he make it from?
He took my mother's hope chest, and I drew the instrument on a piece of paper. He traced it onto the hard oak wood chest top. And it took him a whole day to saw that out by hand. Then we bought a few dollars worth of parts, and I had my first electric guitar. I remember taking it to a gig, and the disc jockey, because it was a record hop, the disc jockey stopped the show. He almost scratched the record to all the pieces, you know. And he held the guitar up. He said, I want you to see what this man's father made for him. You know.
Great. Will you forget that ever?
Never.
You have 6 boys, right?
Yes, that's right.
And your son plays in this Rock Against Racism show for the first time?
My son, Robert, 18 years old. This will be his first time on my show playing.
Do you hope he carries on this Benson legacy?
Well, it's been a tough way. A lot of it has been very tough, so I'm going to let him feel it out for himself.
What's the toughest part?
The dissenters, the non-believers in you, the people you have to convince that you really mean what you say, and that you're playing, you put in your time, and that you really are interested in having an effect on your audience. That's the part.
How about a final word for this community of Boston who are listening to you now about the feelings of prejudice, because we've had our share and we've made a difference and we're on the road, but what do you say to people that are watching?
I find that it's a two-way thing. You have to warm up to people, then they can warm up to you. If you make the first step, I find that it really opens the door. But if you form a hard line, then you can only bring pressure.
In many ways, prejudice comes from lack of knowledge, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Ignorance.
Nice to meet you, George Benson. Thanks an awful lot for being here. Really.
Thank you.
All of Boston thanks you.